Welcome back. You're watching Sportsline here on Sky News. Well, the Ultimate Fighting Championship has revealed big expansion plans, and Australian fans have been promised a lot more of the action. The UFC yesterday returned to Sydney for a third time, but as Sky News sports reporter Jamie Mitchell found out, they're setting their sights on other Aussie cities.
Oh, big night here. Carlos in all sorts of trouble. And he's trying to finish it here. It's over. It's over. And it's all over.
It's the world's fastest growing sport.
A great one. That's it. It's going to finish. And it's all over. Just like wow.
And the UFC is setting its sights firmly on Australia.
And we want to do an event in Melbourne. I think if we can get Melbourne figured out, we could be in Melbourne and Sydney every year. So this market can take a lot of events.
First stop is Sydney, the third time the city has hosted a UFC event. An 11-card fight boasting a number of Aussie fighters, a new weight division, and the locals can't get enough.
Until we continued our expansion, this was clearly the key market and the key focus of what we were doing internationally, and it was primarily driven by the fans and their ability to consume the product, the desire to consume the product. They bought tickets at record pace. Later
this year, it's Brisbane's turn. The event's set to feature an Australia versus England theme, based on the upcoming Aussie version of the Ultimate Fighter series.
We're calling it the Smashes, so it's obviously takeoff on the Ashes. That's the idea. We know that there's a real rivalry between the two. The UK is a big market of ours as well, so we seem to be able to kill two birds with one stone.
But clearly Melbourne is the big target. Etihad Stadium, the likely venue for a show the UFC says will rock the sporting capital of the world.
So if we were to get to the Etihad and we were to get to Melbourne, you can bet that our owners, Dana and Lorenzo, would put on a massive fight card to sell 70,000 tickets, break every revenue record, break every attendance record. That's sort of how we think. If we're going to do something, we'll do it big, and we won't put ourselves in the situation of going into a stadium like that with a fight card that isn't worthy of that.
But the biggest hurdle facing an event in Victoria remains getting the all clear from authorities. Still, the perception lies that cage fighting is overly dangerous.
I understand why in the abstract if someone saw two guys in the cage, kicking and kneeing, but there's so much more to the sport than that. The sport is safe. There's never been a serious death or life-changing injury in the UFC.
But if ever there were doubters, look no further than the UFC's gigantic international presence. The sport prides itself on giving fans a voice through the power of social media.
Unlike other sports, which probably have long legacy traditions of controlling messaging and all, we actually encourage our fighters to tweet. We don't censor them. They are who they are, just like we are who we are.
One of my hugest fans, I think, besides my fiance, is Aaron Cooper, and his name's Coop Diddy on Facebook. We started playing Halo Reach together, and sometimes me and him will stay up to like 2 o'clock. It's like, I don't know, like a Dr. Phil session. I don't want to call it Dr. Phil, but we would just sit there and we'd just talk about fighting and our love for the sport.
The fans are really respectful, and I think as fighters we're really approachable as well, and I think the fans respect that. So, I do the same thing. People hit me up on Twitter, and I play them on PS3, on Modern Warfare 3, and I love it. I just love the interaction with the fans as well.
Legions of fans from around the world, the Australian supporter base getting bigger, and even predictions of a new wave of fighters from down under.
I said this a year ago, and I still believe it, that as our sport continues to gain traction here, the athletes people are used to seeing move over to footy and rugby are going to actually be looking at the UFC. You can make a real career here. The athleticism of those athletes will fit into our sport. So I don't have any doubt, none of us have any doubt that the Aussies will have a champion soon.
Jamie Mitchell there with a look at the UFC.